there was this knowing that I wasn't going to leave without being the victor. I was committed to it. And so every person I connected with, it was genuine. I shook their hand and I says, I'm running to represent you because I truly believe, like I do today, that I can represent your interests. What you believe about your family, the safety of your homes, for making more money and being profitable, for traveling the world. I believe I can truly represent your family and your family. And I believe that. And I looked at my opponent and I knew that I was going to win.
Welcome to the Your Peak Life podcast. Let's conquer the summit of life and reach the apex of our potential.
Welcome to another episode of Your Peak Life. DJ Julian Rivera here. We got a full house today. We got Mike Little in the house. We got Edgar the Sphere Munoz in the house. We got Mr. Stephen Doe, and we have our special guest today. We should be playing All About the Benjamins right now because this name is going to make a lot of sense. We got the one and only Councilman Cash Green in the house, representing District 7 of Virginia Beach. Cash, nice to have you here on the show today, bro.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Definitely. Perfect. So, Cash, you actually came in today in a unique stance because you were able to address a lot of our agents. And every Friday here, this is going to air in like a month, by the way, but every Friday we have our training, and it's always rotating different topics. And when we have a special guest of your stature coming in here and addressing the room, you can tell they pay attention because a lot of the things that they think about or they have a perception about, they don't get to ask the individuals behind. So we appreciate you talking about that. But tell us about your life and how you got into this role in the way that just defines Cash Green.
Thank you for that. My hero is General Colin Powell, right? He is my prime example for my true north. And so as a young man, I was exposed to the Vietnam War, right? My father is a veteran of the Vietnam War, Army. And so General Colin Powell, Army. And my father, who came back from Germany, didn't see actual combat, but whatever happened in Germany, he was never the same. And so I needed a fixture. My mother was the sole support of myself and my sister, and so I needed a male that was a role model for me, and that became General Colin Powell. I saw this individual who was it wasn't about culture for him, it was about being an American, right? And so that was true for me too. Born and raised in San Diego, California, I'm a collection of different cultures. The Latino culture, African American, the white culture. So I knew that I wasn't just going to be culturally based in what I'm going to achieve in my life. I knew it had to be about a professional achievement, right? Here he was in the White House. How did he get there? And so that led my journey on breaking barriers. I remember running in the 6th grade. I ran, and I didn't say this in the group because you put me on the spot in a different way. And plus I'm seated, right? So I can think better. And I remember the whole class was preparing for a 3K, and I never had, or a 5K run. And I didn't run, I've never practiced or exercised. And I remember having watched General Colin Powell on television. The next day I came in with some cutoffs. At the time I had childhood asthma, right? Because that was how I was taught, you're sick and this and that. I remember tucking my inhaler in my sock. And Katie, she was the prime, she was supposed to be the winner, right? She had on the right shorts, she had on the shoes, she had the headband.
All the good gear, right?
She had all the gear, right?
Yeah.
Right. Everyone was, they were clapping even before she even began, right? And so I was with cutoffs, and I think I even had some boots on, right? I was not the one that you would project to be the winner, but I was determined.
Yep.
And so I ended up winning to the point where when they handed me the medal, they were like, I don't know how we're doing this.
Did she place?
She did, but she placed 3rd.
Wow. Okay.
And it was so devastating to her and the teacher, right? That I knew right then and there that there was nothing that could hold me back, that I didn't need the right gear in order to achieve. My gear was my brain, and I was going to use that to achieve the heights that I'm in today.
And you realized that in sixth grade.
In sixth grade. In sixth grade.
So then we're fast forwarding to,
Yeah.
let's just say this is a big fast forward
Yeah.
to 2024.
Yeah.
There was something that clicked that said, you know what? I'm going to run
Right.
to represent the city of Virginia Beach in some way. And you chose to do it in the form of city council.
Yeah.
What was that clicking moment? Because we talk in this show a lot about peaks and valleys, and peaks
Yeah.
are like, once you reach the peak, what's next? Another peak. Because in theory, you never want to go backwards, right? You never really reach the top. You hit a goal, then you set another one.
Yeah.
So what was that metric that you had to really realize that you want to serve the city of Virginia Beach in that way?
After selling 20 Subarus or 20 vehicles every month for the past 10 years, I knew that I was their top salesman, number 3 in Virginia for top sales.
The whole state?
The whole state.
Nice.
Plaque after plaque after plaque, so much that my wife just started having boxes, and we didn't even hang them up anymore because, now we're looking for the money. She said, I don't want a plaque, I want the money, right? So I felt like I that was a sign to me that I can connect with the people, that I understood them and they understood me. And my next challenge was, if I'm really this good at negotiating on their behalf, and I understand the buying patterns and the cycles, then the next challenge would be to represent them on a larger scale. Since they had told me, we're going to send your family members to you, my coworkers to you, my neighbors, that's what they built in me, this trust. So they believed in me, and they trusted that I was going to give them a fair deal. Well, I thought, what's the next step in representing them? Because I love them. I'm a father of 5, right? My wife and I together have 5 adult children, 2 serving our country, 1 in the Navy, 1 in the Air Force, all from my sales profession, right? And so we live in District 7, and so they've allowed me to send my kids to be successful. I mean, I have those that are in sales and leasing and agent. I have those who are in the military. My son's in California. They work in the oil and gas industry. So I felt like they had set my family up for success. So the next challenge was to represent them on local government. Well, I remember all of these fears coming over me. How can I represent them on local government? I don't have a political science degree, right? I'm not a lawyer. All of the traditional things that you would say make up a politician, a successful politician. They would have to have a career either as a lawyer or schooling in political science, right? Or just family members who were in politics. Well, I had neither. There again is that connection to the 6th grade, right? Everyone says, listen, it's impossible. You're not even from here, Virginia Beach. There's no way you can win, right? You don't have the right gear on.
How many times have we heard that?
right? You don't have the right gear back in 6th grade. You don't have the right equipment, and no one's really rooting for you. So I had all the political campaign people come out and say, listen, you're going to run, but you're not going to win. But nevertheless, this is going to be a notch in your belt.
Right.
And so next time you can do it again. There is that fire in my belly from General Colin Powell. And so I knew I connected with the people. I felt comfortable with the people. So because I'm in sales, I created my own time, right, to report to work, to still make sales. So I would knock on doors at 9 in the morning and to 12, and then from 12 to 8 p.m. sell cars.
Can we pause right there?
Yes.
Just for a second. Because you come from a sales background.
Yeah.
But when you sell cars, you don't necessarily door knock.
Yeah.
In real estate, we door knock to sell. But what I'm hearing is that your sales skills and a sales tactic was actually your break into the political landscape.
100%. You're exactly right.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. I used everything I learned in sales to have the courage to knock on their doors as a complete stranger.
you're a fan of, or there's acronyms for days, and I love it. And NO stands for next opportunity. You're not afraid of no's.
Yeah.
You know how many no's you've received in your life already based on the profession that you're in. So you said, I'm not going to win. Say less. Yeah, right. I'm going to go and going to give it my all. And then you just kept doing that. You developed a strategy that started when? Like, how early were you campaigning prior to getting to November?
In 2021, had I began to have the conversations with my wife.
Okay.
I'm grateful to say I'm married to the love of my life. She doesn't make me the better version of myself. She's just the cherry on the top, right? I'm a go-getter either way, right? But she just helps be the cherry on the top. And so in 2021, I began to start to think about government. And so I got myself on some boards and commissions, the Process Improvement Steering Committee, the Library Board, because I believe that libraries are the foundation to a successful community. I believe in that because when my father, who came back from Germany, wasn't the same anymore, my mother would drop us off at the library, and there I began to build life skills of how to read above my grade, how to interact on my own, and how to create this space of books and, people that were not my parents, that were complete strangers, but I trusted them in that environment, learned to communicate, right? So the fear had left me from saying that I can communicate with different cultures.
So you've door knocked, you're campaigning, you've, at this point in time, you have some volunteers helping you because you're able to, I don't want to say sell the dream, but you're selling the vision, right? Because it's not really, sell's not the right word. You're kind of encouraging the vision of like, if you support and you see this, you're going to be a part of this in some way. I'm going to fast forward all the way. It's November.
Yeah.
It's election day.
Yep.
The votes are in.
Yep.
You have a gathering of people and you see yourself winning.
Right.
Because it wasn't like you won by 1 point. I saw the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, just tell me how that whole,
Yeah.
just that day went for you.
Yeah.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
It was. I woke up at 5 a.m. and I was at the polls at 5:30. Well, I woke up at 5:30 and I was at the polls at 6. And from there, I just determined I was not going to leave Centerville Elementary until I achieved my goal. We came up with a strategic plan. There were 10 voting precincts. I had 10 volunteers who were committed to me. They believed in me. And we strategically made it to where I would stay fixed at Centerville Elementary. And then I recruited my sister, right, to do College Park.
Okay.
And she, because that was a strong district, I needed to win College Park and Centerville Elementary. So my sister was the better version of me, and so she was at College Park Elementary. I was at Centerville Elementary. And then I had good people who believed in my vision. But I knew, there was this knowing that I wasn't going to leave without being the victor. I was committed to it. And so every person I connected with, it was genuine. I shook their hand and I says, I'm running to represent you because I truly believe, like I do today, that I can represent your interests, what you believe about your family, the safety of your homes, for making more money and being profitable, for traveling the world. I believe I can truly represent your family and your family. And I believe that. And I looked at my opponent and I knew that I was going to win. So from that moment on, I stayed there fixed until the polls closed and until I started to receive the reports of tallying of coming in. You won this precinct, you won this precinct. Out of 10 precincts, I won 9. And only one I did not claim victor on that one, only because the people that were campaigning for me were campaigning other candidates and not really focused on Cash Green as being the candidate.
So you said this earlier too, and I got to know because I didn't attend the party. I was actually I was all over that place that day.
Yeah.
Did you have your headquarters at Applebee's?
I did.
You did? Okay.
I did. It's like Cheers, right? Kristen, she is incredible. I mean, I started with her after 21, after 22, I began going into Applebee's because we go to Applebee's. I believe in neighborhood restaurants, investing back into your community, right? It comes back to you in so many ways. And so Kristen began to teach me about the business community at Applebee's. And so that was my place. And so they said, well, why don't you have it at the Westin? Because a lot of political people are going to be there. But it was those political people who didn't believe me, who didn't believe that I could achieve this goal. It was the people that believed in me, not the status quo. I've always been not the status quo. I've never, I met Gordon Robertson, who is CBN, right? Pat Robertson's son. I had a meeting and I was supposed to go through the front door. They had VIP parking. This is my first time meeting. Well, I didn't know which direction to go. So I went through the back door. Lo and behold, that was his office. I ended up meeting him through the back door, right? And so we made this great. Well, that's the story of my life. I've never won the traditional way of winning. And a lot of that is because of, in 2013, I had this aha moment as an adult. Nothing that I do in my life slows me down. So I put away the things that slow me down. So I'm going to say this because I think it's important. I don't drink.
Okay.
Not that drinking is a bad thing.
Right.
It slowed me down. And I have one wife. Not that having multiple wives are not a bad thing.
It's a lot of work.
You know, it's just a lot of work,
It's a lot
right?
of work.
So I became single focused. I knew what I wanted to be, and I knew that in order for me to achieve my goal, I would have to be single focused. And so these other things would slow me down or not allow me to be one person.
Right.
So in 2013, I became one person. And so a part of my philosophy for sales is I don't lie to my customers. That's because in 2013, I don't lie to myself. I am who I am. And so what I say to you is what I say to others. It's also what I say to myself.
You know, you were saying a lot of things there, but one of the main things, I think we all have had that aha moment and something, and kind of like you've realized that 2013 was your year. Like I'm 41 now, and when I entered my 30s, I always said I was doing shotgun stuff.
Yeah.
I was trying everything to see what worked because I didn't have the traditional education background. I didn't go to the college. I didn't go to this. I graduated early. I graduated with advanced, but I didn't take advantage of that traditional way of trying to just be successful or whatever that definition is. So I always remixed it and made it work for me in some way, shape, or form. Right. But I realized as I entered my 40s, they were working, don't get me wrong, but I was spreading myself too thin. So then I went into sniper mode, is what I say. And then I started divesting to invest back into myself and the community. And so far, so good. But the aha moment that I had is that I realized that there was a point I had over 100 employees and I was working at the okay version of myself.
Sure.
It wasn't the best version of myself. Was I financially making money? Yes. Was I present at home? Kind of. Was I a bunch of other maybes in there? Yes. But I needed to have as close to definites as possible as I entered my next chapter, AKA my 40s. So that's when I realized that I have to be real with myself, divest to invest. And now encouraging anybody to do this, but making sure that energy and the people you're around the most is going to be contagious. That's right. In a good way, because it's definitely in a bad way. We've all learned that in some way, shape, or form. But even like, for example, like with Mike, he's not from here either.
Yeah.
Edgar, he's not from here either. We're from here. We kind of got the cheat code because we went to school here. We know people, right? But they're not from here. Right. And when they came, Mike came. I'll start with Mike. He came here, a chip on his shoulder. He had something he wanted to prove, not just to the world, really to himself. Right. And when he talks about himself and his story, because he's a public speaker, he does a lot of things. He's a really, really good brand as himself, as a human. But his story really encourages everybody because everyone has different backgrounds. And I'll let Mike talk about this, but he can really bring things into sniper mode a lot faster than most people can when it's not even your backyard, kind of like what you did, which is what you're doing now.
Yeah, but I'm actually interested about Mr. Doe over there.
Yeah.
So here's why. Because I first met Stephen at a Circle of Excellence award ceremony. He was wearing that fly jacket that he wore
Yeah,
this year
yeah.
to the award ceremony.
Yep.
Surprised that still fit.
But then I saw his Real Producers cover, and your path to sales versus the medical field. I want to know that aha moment.
Right.
Like,
Well-
what made you? Why the switch?
It's valid.
So to be honest, during that time, I was working at the hospital full time, and I was just doing real estate part time. I really had no intentions of leaving the hospital at all. Like, I loved that job. And I was just doing this for supplemental income, just for extra income. But what I really saw was once I started once I got licensed and started doing deals, I could see my path. I could see my trajectory. I could see my pipeline was quickly filling up. So my aha moment, there was a breaking point. It was I wanted to stay in the medical field, but there was a time constraint. Something had to give, and I knew that there was a higher ceiling in the real estate world and in sales. Mm-hmm. So I eventually had to give up the medical position and take this on full time. And what I did was I could dedicate that time that I was constricted at the hospital, implement it over here in my career in sales, and it just took off. It exploded a lot faster than I anticipated. So it was a calculated decision. I could see my pipeline and my trajectory, so I knew I could make a calculated decision and jump over here and make it a real career.
Well, one thing I know about you, you don't make any decisions fast.
I don't.
At
I
all.
don't.
Like, I mean,
None.
none at all.
Yeah.
So I was going to add a question to that, though, is like, what exactly did you do at the hospital? What were you doing?
I was in nuclear medicine.
He was a janitor. He was
No
a
big
janitor.
deal.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, just clean
like,
toilets.
this is what I mean about the humbleness, right? Like
Right.
you would never know
Right.
just meeting Stephen any of this, right? And then I have to ask, how long did it take you to achieve that job?
So this.
Yeah.
I started my college career right after high school. I graduated in 1998. Went to college after that. I took the long route, a little 8 years because I was goofing around, having fun. But I started working in 2006 at Riverside Hospital, and then over to Chesapeake General. So
And when did you leave?
End of 2015. So I had a 5-year plan. If it worked, I was like, if I get my real estate license and this works out, maybe in about 5-6 years, I'll leave and do this.
That's great. But I'm getting at the aha moment of 8 years of education,
Right.
an additional sounds like 10 years of work or something like that.
It was 10 years.
So you're talking about 18 years of your life that you committed to medicine, to serving people in that capacity, and you had a moment where you said, my life can be better than this. I'm going to go do something else.
Yes.
That's an incredible story, man. And I think it's just kind of slid under the rug a lot. It's like, dude, you went to school for 8 years, you serviced people for a decade, and then you said, you know what? I can do and be better.
Yeah.
For me and my family.
Yeah. And it
That's
was and
incredible to me.
we had a young family at the time. I think we just had our third child. When I made that decision, my wife and my family were a little bit, they're like, whoa. They were scared. It is a scary moment, but taking that leap of faith, it's big. I mean, and again, it's
And everybody
you
knows
just got to
Stephen,
make that
though.
jump.
Shout out to Beth. Shout out to Beth.
Yeah.
That is dope. Yes.
Yeah.
But so I wanted to kick that can back to him because I feel like a lot of people hear and know of a portion of my story, and you're one of those guys that kind of just cool, calm, collected. Nobody really knows, but Stephen Doe's a badass. You know what I mean? Like, and
I'm just a humble servant of real estate.
That's the guy you watch.
yeah, exactly. But I'll run back into my side of things. So I had a lot of aha moments, to be honest, but I want to pick up on something where you and I connect, and you don't know this because we haven't spoke yet. I was in my office while you were addressing the company. So Colin Powell was one of the first leaders that I looked up to. I grew up with without either one of my parents. And in 6th grade, I won a book reading contest. I read like 100-something books that year for whatever reason. I still read like 50 a year now, and now I write books, right? So, but the person I chose to write my book report on to win that contest was Colin Powell.
That's incredible.
So as a young, fair-skinned white boy growing up, you know, it's odd to say this, but I always looked to African-American males as elite leadership. Colin Powell. Michael Jackson was one of my idols growing up. Michael Jordan.
Mine too.
You know, Michael Jordan.
You're my brother.
Mike Tyson.
You're my brother.
Possible. My hair is really curly. Yours is gone. Oh, man. But, you know, Mike Tyson before he was biting people's ears off.
Yep.
But just, I always looked to that group of people because they came from nothing and they went to, you know, the highest mountaintop, you know. So I think for me, Colin Powell was an aha moment of like, I was a natural born leader.
Yeah.
And it was also in 6th grade, which is, it's just weird because that connection point's there. But my aha moment to walk away from 14 years of honorable naval service and go full-time real estate was when I realized the value in myself. When I walked away from my first marriage and I said, I'm going to chase my dreams, I'm going to do what I want to do, I'm going to bet on myself. That was the aha moment where I put my back against the wall and I won. You know, I decided to leave when I could have stayed. I could have retired.
Sure.
I was supposed to retire this year at 37 years
crazy.
old.
Yeah.
It is crazy. And sometimes it still bothers me. You know,
Right.
April is the month of the Navy chief. I was a Navy chief. I was supposed to retire in July. Instead, we're sitting here like trying to build the next 5-year plan for the company.
Right.
But that also led to, I kind of knew this whole time that we've been building these companies and I've been leading people that what I wanted to do was tell my story. What I wanted to do was public speak. What I wanted to do was publish books, like, because I feel my story needs to be heard. And that also leads to back to politics. Our current vice president, his name is J.D. Vance, and I just put this together like last week. There's a movie and a book called Hillbilly Elegy.
Sure. Yep.
The town that he went home to, where his mother was in the hospital for her substance abuse, which they just celebrated her 10 years of sobriety, which is phenomenal.
That's phenomenal.
Well, both of my parents are deceased from heroin overdoses. And my sisters currently live in Middletown, Ohio.
Wow.
And that's like a small fraction of my story, but it aligns with his. My story aligns with yours. And they all know, just not even 2 years ago, I met my grandfather for the first time and find out that he's a real estate educator. He owned a title company, you know, all these things. And I'm now sitting here wondering, is my next evolution politics? Even though I've always said, I don't like politics.
So I'll tell you, we need leaders who are not seeking to be politicians. When the call came to me, it was my customers who kept saying, you should represent us. And I kept saying, but I don't have all the things that television says. That's not me. But so throw away their definition of what it is to be a politician.
Yeah.
And the people will tell you what they want. And then eventually, because of your care for them, you assume or become that role because of your care for them. And then if it happens to be the title of politician, it wasn't me seeking the title of politician.
Let's just take care of people.
It was me
It's more of
taking
like
care of
servants, not
That's right.
politicians.
That's right.
But you did have to learn some politics, I guess.
I did.
Yeah.
And that's where the boards and commission, which you are a part of, gave me the internal workings of how slow the government moves.
He said that too fast, Cash. That's way too fast. Come on, man.
And then I went to some actual council meetings. And it's not the formal council meetings where you go to, and that's on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. It's the informal ones that you need to attend. That's where they're in these boardroom settings. There is an audience of 1, 2, 3 rows. That's where the lawyers are at, the media, the radio personalities. And all 11 of us sit at this boardroom, and we are steering Virginia Beach in that meeting. And we've got the news cameras there, Wavy 10, Channel 13 News Now. And whatever we say becomes fact, whether it is fact or fiction, because their NPR journalists are there. I mean,
Now it's how it's being perceived by the public.
yeah, right then and there, it becomes news.
Yep.
And you're in charge of a 500 Fortune company, and in essence, it's happening live right then and there. So I would think for you, the term politician is being reimagined by individuals like myself and Chief Hutch, who I have a lot of respect for. He's on city council. Real knows real. You said game recognizes game.
All day.
And that's what's happening to the new state of politics.
Which is
Well, yeah,
good.
I just wanted to tie the Colin Powell piece,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
aha
yeah,
moment, the leadership piece.
Yeah.
And that's really where the success of this company comes from. Not looking for a dollar, being willing to help other people, leading other people where they want to go. That's what's taken us where we are. So now we're going to pass it over to Edgar and his aha moment.
He's been super engaged today. I want to say
Yeah.
I appreciate
No,
that.
he's-
I've been listening.
Yeah,
I love
he's-
this guy's high energy. Keep going.
Facts.
I mean, well, first of all, like, yeah, I'm from San Diego, so
Yeah.
we were talking
I knew
about
it.
that.
As soon as I heard that, I'm like,
San
they go
Diego,
together.
isn't that a Wales?
Yep, yep.
I got him.
Well, no, I mean, I got a couple. I mean, I think, and I finally got to see this guy again at my daughter's baby shower. Mark Weisbrod is a guy that changed my life, or the course, showing me a little bit about money and everything. That was one aha moment, I would say. Where it
Can
was
I
like,
get a crash course on who that is?
Mark Weisbrod is my first baby mother, wife, brother-in-law.
Okay.
Super cool family, super cool guy. He had actually a couple franchises, and now he's in the medical field, selling a salesman, basically,
Right.
for these large corporations. And I finally got to thank him for everything he showed me, because he was one of the first people that was successful, not only as a father, but as a businessman, to just open everything up. Like, hey, man, when I met him, they were selling their house, building another house. How are you doing all of this?
Right.
I was about 16 at the time, living in Tucson on my own. So he was the first one, and I got to reconnect with him. And then the last one was just recently. The lady who raised me,
It's all
All right,
good, dog.
bro.
she just died. So at that moment, I was like, fuck everybody. I help a lot of people all the time. I
All
put
day,
more
every
time,
day.
Whether you're moving, whatever. So I know I'm a great father. So I aligned with the Team Up Society. So I'm becoming a mentor. I got my first mentee, just met him. So I want to pour into the youth that was in my similar shoes or have the disadvantages, to get them ahead in all the aspects that I was lacking. And also, because a lot of times the things that I was lacking was the education, the world that's like at your fingertips. You just don't know it. So that aha moment happened there. And I was like, all right, now I need to pour into my community, the youth around me, which they're everywhere.
Yeah, right.
And also, that's where what's happening now is my sales are going up. It's like, nah, I'm fucking good at this. But I focus on my family a lot. That's where I pour into that time. And when we were in Jamaica, my wife said, I just want you to just do it. Don't worry about us. That was the aha moment. Was those things just coming to a cross, and it was like, all right, I'm going to go 110%. I'm going to meet these goals that I know I'm not doing. Again, mentoring these children, they need it. being involved with the community, upping my sales. And then now I'm working on putting the systems in place so I could refocus into the company. And then turn around and give thanks to Mike. He's taught me a lot in this side of the business where we're going to have to pour that into somebody eventually because we're not going to be doing this day to day for the rest of our lives.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So it's just a progression from that cornerstone in February.
I'm going to give you one more aha moment because you didn't mention it. But I want you to put this in perspective for yourself. The woman that raised you just passed away. The woman that you rekindled a relationship with as your mother, you just celebrated her 70th birthday in that conference room. To me, that's a full circle aha moment. You know, to have the heart to put that relationship back together and have her in the life of your family, in the life of our company family, to see the love that she gets every day, regardless of, or irregardless, if you will, of how you were raised and what took place. That, to me, speaks volumes to your heart and who you are as a man.
Agreed.
That's right.
Yep.
And you walked in shortly after this, but we turned the lights off. They turned the lights off. He walked out with his cake. It's her 70th birthday today. She brought in the sweet tamales that are in the back there that you need to grab before you leave, by the way.
I will. At first, I was
San
like,
Diego,
I
so
don't
you
know.
know you
I know.
know to unwrap them.
Right?
He won't eat it, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
What did you say? Don't eat the tusk, right?
Yeah.
Take them for lunch. You know what I'm saying? But there's a pivotal moment that we all have. And the crazy thing is, it's not going to be our last one.
Yeah.
No.
We're going to have these. And to be fair, I think the older we get, the more we have them because we're paying attention so much more about us and how we're growing.
That whole Colin Powell piece that just hit me,
Right.
his sixth grade brought me back to sixth grade. That was
Right.
insane.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So it happens all day, every day.
But that comes down to a point. You decided you made a decision to serve the community.
Yeah.
You had an aha moment multiple times throughout that journey. And then in November, you realized, November 2024, I did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're currently about 90 something days in
I'm
serving
90
your
days in.
your first year.
Right.
And now you're seeing behind the scenes.
Right.
You're pulling the curtain back because you're behind the curtain now.
That's true.
And you get to help more than you probably thought you could. And you're utilizing the connections that you already had in the community to grow what Cash Green was promising already during the campaign can actually happen.
On that point of seeing behind the scenes, I want to tell you, and we talked about, everyone in here touched about education.
Yeah.
On education. My educational background comes like this. 4 years of theology because my family said you need to be a preacher because you're either a preacher or you play sports, right? And so I was kind of good at basketball, but I've got a knee brace on right now. So
But I can see you being a
Is
support
basketball your favorite sport?
no, football.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who's your team?
It was the San Diego Chargers.
Do they even have them?
Right, but then they left. And so,
So you're an orphan right now.
yes, I'm an orphan. I need a home. And so,
Fair, okay. The other thing
but
is,
I'm used to that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing too, I can also see you as a backup singer for Kirk Franklin. That could happen too. Just
Well,
putting that out there. All right.
I did sing in the choir, and they
See?
gave me a solo, but that was my last solo. I don't know why they didn't call me back. They didn't call me back.
Did you preach? Did you end up
I
preaching?
did. I did.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what happened. And the reason why this is important because this is why I love all things numbers. Like I'm a numbers guy. I love numbers. I love it. But it started off where I got my acceptance of not being a family because my father wasn't with us. Mother, she left, and so my sister and I basically were dropped off with our grandparents and raised by them. Okay. Well, she raised us, or she raised me to be a preacher, my wife or my sister to be a hairstylist. After preaching, I began to get some acceptance of, okay, this guy is smart. And that's how I found my acceptance of not having a family, but that title gave me my acceptance of being human, right? I kept that until 2000. I flew to Hong Kong. Now, this is important. I went to Hong Kong to their Wall Street. It was incredible. We went over there for a missions trip to convert Buddhism, those who were Buddhist, over to Christianity. And I got converted. Now, let me explain. I know, right? So we went to the. You got to listen.
This
okay?
might be a whole nother episode.
Right? So
I
now,
already know because I
Right.
follow Buddhism.
yeah, I'm trying to tell you. There are people. We went to the largest statue, mountain, the peak, and there's this large Buddhist statue of a Buddha, right? And there was this culture. They were burning incense, and there's this legacy, but it was a legacy in beauty. It was pure, man, and I could not convert them. I just wanted to get to know them. And how did you keep this on for generations, longer than America was America? Mm-hmm. Yet they loved me and they accepted me. They didn't try to talk about converting me. They just said, how's your time here?
They didn't even have to, man.
They didn't have to. I took off my collar from then on and knew that it was about humanity for me. I loved all cultures from that point on, and I would rather try to understand your culture than convert your culture.
That's beautiful,
big.
man. I don't know that we need to continue. We might want to just go ahead and cut this off right here. That was great.
Nope,
Got
I got
the-
to continue.
got
Sorry.
the wheels spinning.
Yeah, because now you reached, that's a peak,
Yeah.
right? You've reached a lot of peaks in that life, and then you came back with a different outlook.
Oh,
Yeah,
talk
I
about
did.
an aha moment, right?
Right.
There
That's,
you
that's
go.
exactly what I'm saying. That was another aha moment.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
came back, and how did that change just your day to day on that? On just because that's a completely different vision. That's a completely different. That's a
true.
life changing trip.
It's true. I knew because of my upbringing, my father not being at home, my mother in the streets, right? Us being raised by our grandparents, it took the people at the library, which was black, white, Filipino,
Of all
Latino,
of all
everyone
kinds.
that's here, right? Mixed. Everyone that's here, that's who raised me. And for the first time, I became true to myself. Because the truth of Cash Green is I'm a collection of all cultures
Yeah.
and religions. That's the truth of me. Because that's who raised me.
Which abundantly qualifies you to serve the people. It's
And
incredible.
Hampton Roads is a melting pot of all cultures. I mean, like you said, we have multiple
military,
cultures in this
yeah.
room right here. We have military, we have tourism. We're one of the most multicultural communities in the entire country.
And companies, might I add.
And companies. You saw out there. You
I
didn't
did.
see. You didn't see the same twice in theory. You know,
it's
but we
true.
saw all walks of life, from age, from race to everything. So we like to end the episodes with asking you, what would you say to yourself? I'm gonna change this one because I usually say like 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
What would you say to yourself now?
Yeah.
What would you say to yourself 2 years ago, knowing what you know now that you won the seat that you're in to serve the community to the level that you're allowed to?
Number one, don't listen to the people that are supposed to be the authorities. Those who are supposed to be the authority on politics. Those that are supposed to be the authorities on sales. Right? I broke every mold. And had I listened to them, I would not be in that seat today. But I listened to myself, to that own self be true.
Mic drop. If I was
Yeah,
holding
I
up my
love
hand,
it.
that's what I
That's
would
beautiful.
do. Councilman Green, thank you for coming here. We appreciate you being on the show today. Seriously, when the show's ready to go, we'll let you know. Edgar the Sphere Munoz signing out. I'm not going to make a nickname up for you, Steve, though. I will soon enough. Mike the Broker from the bottom, little DJ Julian Rivera signing out. Another episode of Your Peak Life podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. Later.